Bueno, Nico, so today we're going to start our week number 6, which has two different classes, right?
Mhm.
And it's related to money, a little bit to money and our financial life and stuff. But as usual, we are going to discuss all of that while we practice other topics, right? So we're going to start here with three different questions. I would like you to help me to read number one, please.
Do you normally pay your debts on time?
Perfect. Do you normally pay your debts on time? What is the meaning of pay debts?
Deudas?
Yes, exactly. Do you normally pay your debts on time if you have one?
I try to don't have any kind of debts,
Uh-huh.
and when in a emergency, for example, I need to use the credit card, I if I can pay with my salary when I receive the salary, I pay instantaneously the debt. I
Instantly.
hate the yeah, instantly. I hate the debts in general.
First, not having debts is a very difficult situation. So, okay, in that case, I try not to. I try not to have debts, right?
Yeah, try not to
Mhm.
have. Yes.
Okay, very good. So of course, the little times or the few times that you have had debts, you have paid on time because you don't like debts, so you paid on time, right?
Yes.
Mhm. Good. In the second part, it says, in this moment of your life, do you owe something to someone? Even if it's not money, for example, I don't know, I owe an invitation to my mother because of her birthday, or I owe an apology to my ex-girlfriend, or no, so something like that.
I forget the meaning of owe.
Ah, that's an important word. Owe, it's the verb, which is like deber.
Okay.
So, do you owe something to someone, even if it's not money?
Yes, I remember in the past when I bought my first motorcycle, I pay pay como pay borrow or to my mom some money to complete the credit, the first
Uh-huh.
credit, and I owe
Still,
money.
in this moment, you still owe that money.
In this money, I owe the money. Yes.
Okay, okay, good. In that case of borrow, it's not necessary to have other verb. I borrowed, because it's a regular verb, I borrowed the money from my mom, right?
Okay.
Normally, we use the verb borrow with the preposition from. Okay, so that's it. And number three, it's who does currently provide your incomes. Do you know what is the meaning of incomes?
No,
Incomes is the money that you receive. So, but I think you provide yourself your incomes, right? Your parents don't give you money anymore.
no, I work for my
Exactly.
resume salary
Exactly. I work for myself, no? I
for
work
myself. Yes.
for myself. Okay, very good. So it means that you are the person who's giving the money, and you are the person also who is receiving the money. So it's a reflexive action, right? Okay,
Okay.
very good. So in this case, my friend, we're going to be talking about like all the money, but to do that, it's necessary that we understand the three different parts of the sentence. We know this part clearly, but maybe there are some parts that we don't know perfectly, right? So we know that the subject of the sentence is the person who does the action, right? There is a person or an act or an object could be, or an animal or a country or somebody or something that makes an action, right? So in I say, for example, when you said I provide myself the money, ¿cierto? Or my incomes, the incomes, right? So in that case, you are the subject because you are the person who would do the action. Hmm? Then we have the verb. the verb, we know that it's the action that we are talking about in the sentence. In this case, is the verb provide, but we have others, like in the previous one, we use the verb pay, right? We also use the verb owe, and also, bueno, we use the verb provide, and also you talk about the verb borrow. Hmm? Those are the actions that we normally do, or that, bueno, that in those examples we did, yeah? And is the action that normally the subject does, right? So that's why the subject goes first, and right after that, it comes the action, the verb. Finally, we have the objects, ready? The objects are the ones, can be a person or a literal object that receives the action of the subject. Ready? So this subject makes the action, and the action sometimes go over an object. For example, you said, you know what, teacher, I pay my debts. In this case, you are the person who do the action, so you are the subject. The action, of course, is pay, right? But what do you pay? My debts. So this is going to be the object. The object is the answer to the question, what, right? For example, when I say I pay my debts, what do you pay? My debts. That is the object. Ready? Or for example, you said I owe money to my mom. Ready? So you said, what do you owe? Money. Okay, that is the object of the sentence because that is the thing that receives the action before, right? Example, I kiss my wife. What do I kiss? My wife. Oh, okay, so my wife in that case is the object because she receives the action. What is the action? The kiss. Yeah, the kiss from me. So that's why in this case, the object is the one that receives the action directly. Right? But sometimes we have more than one object. For example, here we have I provide myself. You are the subject, but also you are the object, but you provide the incomes, right? So in this case, we are going to have the question, what do you provide, Nico? In this case, in this sentence, what do you provide?
My incomes.
My incomes. So the object, it's literally this one. The incomes, it's the object. But it's very common that we have some actions which have two objects. One object is the one that receives the action, and the other object is the one that receives the first object. So in this case, okay, I provide the incomes. What do you provide? The incomes. Okay, but for whom? For myself. So in this case, we're going to have two different kinds of objects. Direct objects, or well known as DO, direct objects, and indirect objects, or well known as indirect objects, IO. Ready? So the direct object is the one that receives the action, the first one. Yeah. And the indirect object is the one that receives indirectly that first object. For example, when I say I owe money to my mom, the money that I owe, it's the direct object. And to my mom, or bueno, my mom, it's the indirect object because she is the one that is receiving the first direct object, right? Here, in this case, is the opposite. I provide myself the incomes. The income, that is the first object, is the direct object. And myself is the indirect object because it's the one that is receiving the incomes, that is the direct object, right? So we're going to have this kind of relationship when we have detransitive verbs. ¿Recuerdas que era un detransitive verb? Que lo vimos por allá al principio del nivel. Detransitive verbs. Do you remember that? Or not really?
much, teacher. I don't remember.
The transitive verb, it's a verb that has two objects, the direct object and the indirect object, right? Because some other times we have transitive transitive verbs which are only with one object. For example, kiss. I said, I kiss my wife. Ese es un verbo que es solamente transitivo, no tiene dos objetos, sino solamente uno. I kiss my wife. That, el objeto
Mm.
directo. That's it. But we are going to talk about today the transitive verbs, the ones that have two objects. Okay. For example, here, could you please help me to read the example, Nico?
My brain keeps sending me signals, but I keep asking to him.
Exactly. So my brain keeps sending me signals, but I keep asking to him, right? Entonces, en este caso tengo el verbo send,
Mhm.
right? You know what is the meaning of send. What is my brain sending? What is my brain sending?
Signals.
Signals. Entonces, signals será what kind of object? Direct or indirect?
Indirect.
Direct, because it's the one that
Ah, yes.
es lo que me envían, ¿cierto? ¿Y a quién le envían? To me, ¿cierto? So, in my case, I am going to be the indirect object, right? Porque soy quien recibe las.
Okay.
Okay, ready? Entonces, the object, direct, receives the action, and the indirect object receives the direct object, ready? Es como una cadenita de cosas. But we're going to check in more detail. Bueno, eso es like, solamente los objetos pronombre, just like. Recuerda que puedo cambiar el objeto, lo puedo tener como la palabra normal o object pronouns. For example, I can say, I love my mom. Obvio, of course, I am the subject, the verb is love, and my mom is the object. Pero si yo en la siguiente oración quiero decir, y la extraño, and I miss, ya no quiero usar my mom, ¿qué podría usar ahí?
I miss him.
¿Es mujer? It's my mom.
Her.
Yes, exactly. So, entonces, I love my mom and I miss her. Ready? Rápidamente, sorry, Nico. Espérame, wait. Con la herramientica acá de texto, please complete the three questions here. The first one is, do you eat ajiaco? Yes, I like. Do you know Spider-Man? Yes, I know. And do you like horror movies? No, I don't like. Usando los object pronouns que tenemos acá. ¿Listo, please? So, escoges aquí el texto o con el lapicito, cualquiera, right? No problem. Solamente es escribir el object pronoun in these spaces, please. Okay. So go ahead. Mhm. Okay, 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 okay. Bueno, Nico. So, in the first part, perfect. Yes, you got it. Vamos a cambiar el color. Sorry, here. The first part, excellent. So we have I like it because it's talking about ajiaco, which is
Uh-huh.
one. So that's why it's it. Here, yes, I know him because I'm talking about a man, which is Spider-Man. But here it's horror. Muy bien, le faltaba una R, very good, but horror movies, right? Plural. So in that case, I don't like.
Them.
Excellent, my friend. It's not it, but
This.
I don't like them so much. So that's good. I can have objects in the way of the name or on the way of the pronoun. Ready? If I don't want to repeat the name of the person, right? So in that case, Nico, so we can continue. A ver, wait. Let me erase everything. See, that's it. So in this case, we're going to continue with the transitive verbs. The verbs that are transitive are going to be classified into different types. First, we have these ones: announce, describe, explain, mention, provide, recommend, return, and say. Do you have questions about these verbs, or are they clear, all of them? Announce,
Mm,
describe, explain, mention, provide, recommend, return, and say.
no, it's clear to me.
Clear, right? These verbs are transitive. They receive direct and indirect object, but they always do it with this structure. First, the direct object. Second, the preposition to or for, depending si es a o para, and then the indirect object. Ready? For example, I am going to use describe. Yes. Nicholas describes, wait, sorry, describes the design to the customers, right? What does Nicholas describe?
The design,
The design. So the design, it's going to be what? Direct or indirect object?
direct.
Direct object. And to whom? ¿A quién? To the customers. So the customers that receive those designs or that explanation, yes, it's going to be the indirect object. But in the middle, I said, Nicolás describe el diseño a los clientes. So I need to use the two. Teacher, can I use for? Sí, it's possible. Nicolás describes the design for the customers, para los clientes, and it's the same. Ready? I can have any other verbs. For example, I mention the information to my students. I announce the change to my kids, for example. I recommend the change to my patients, right? So it's necessary with these verbs to maintain this structure: direct, to or for, and then the indirect. On the other hand, we have other verbs such as allow, ask, cause, and cost. Ready? Cause and cost. Any questions on these verbs? Or are they clear too?
No, it's clear.
Clear. Allow, what is the meaning of allow?
Pertenecer.
This is
De-
belong. Este es permitir.
permitir, perdón.
Permitir, right? So in this case, it's going to be the opposite structure. First, we have the indirect object and then the direct object, but in that case, I do not have to use preposition. I simply say, for example, Nicholas asks them, usando them, the customers, ¿cierto? Nicholas asked them, I don't know, let's say questions. What does Nicholas ask? What do you ask in this case?
Questions.
Questions. So questions is going to be the direct object. And to whom? To the customers. They still are the indirect object. So in that case, it's different. I have the indirect object first and then the direct object with no preposition whatsoever. So Nicholas asking TTT, or for example, I don't know, I bought a new cell phone and it costs, it cost I don't know, it cost the 1 million. It cost me, sorry, me comí el objeto. It cost me 1 million, ¿cierto? What is 1 million? The direct object, because it's the money that costed. And to whom? To whom costed? ¿A quién le costó? To me. Ah, okay, so I am the indirect object, and again, with the verb cost. So, these four verbs, bueno, of course, there are others, but these are like the most common ones that they follow this structure. Indirect object first, and then the direct object. Okay? So,
Okay.
hasta ahí están las dos estructuras. Clear, Nico? Clear how do they work?
Yes, sure. One little question. For example, in the second exercise, when I say Nicolas, then question this kind of sentence and the structure can be used, for example, or is more frequently in when I report something like report speech. Like, for
It
example,
can be
this
used.
sentence sounds similar like a report.
It sounds similar to the report, but because when we use ask, it's like preguntar, no? So it if I have to include like a complete sentence, remember that it's possible that we use that for connecting this sentence with the next sentence, right? Because in the report speech, we have a complete sentence reported. So we say, okay, Nicholas asks them, and then them it's the direct, perdón, the indirect object. And then, si solamente es, o sea, si solamente es como les preguntó, les hizo preguntas o les preguntó tal cosa, ¿sí? Algo pequeño, va a ir directo acá, ¿cierto? The questions.
Okay.
Pero si quieres decir como, no, es que Nicolás les preguntó, sí, les preguntó tal cosa, va a decir una oración completa, ¿sí? Ahí tengo que usar el conector to o el conector that para incluir si es request o si es statement. Ya depende el report speech que vayamos a usar, ¿listo? Pero si es una oración completa. Si es algo cortico así como tal, no necesito usar nada, sino directamente voy del indirect object to del direct object, ¿right?
Thank you, teacher.
Ujú. Listo, Nico. So we have some examples like this and some examples like that. But in most of the cases, we have verbs, and the most common verbs, they accept both possibilities. You can do it using the direct object first and then the rest, or using the indirect object first. What does it depend? Depends on your intention. If you think that the direct object is more important, use the first structure because it goes first. Or if you think that the indirect object, the person who receives the action, the direct object is more important, so use the second option, right? And we have verbs like, for example, get, give, lend, offer, sell, send, show, teach, tell, among others, entre otros, among others, right? In order to use both options. So I could say, for example, that, I don't know, let's continue with examples with you. Nicholas gives money to his children. What do you think, Nico? Is that the first structure or the second structure?
Sorry, teacher.
Is that the first option, the option number one, or the option number two?
Um, is the first one?
The first one, right? Because the question, the sentence Nicholas gives money to his children. The first thing is that what does Nicholas give? Money. So that is the direct object. ¿A quién? To whom? To his children. Okay, so they are the indirect object. So we have direct object, to, and then indirect object. But I can do the same sentence using the second one. For example, I would say that Nicholas gives his children money. Yeah, of course, money. Money is the direct object, the indirect object. The direct object, and then his children, which is the ones that receive the money, are the indirect object. But in the middle of that, I don't have to use two or four. No, nothing. Nicholas gives his children money, right? I can use it with offer, with sell, with send, with show, with teach. Both are fine. Leo teaches English to his students. Or Leo teaches his students English. That's it, right? So in that case, with these verbs, I can use both options. The one that I prefer, depending on my intention. If I say, okay, Leonardo teaches English to his students, is because I want to emphasize on the subject, English. Or if I say, no, he teaches his students English. Okay, because I want to emphasize who receives the lessons of English, right? So in that case, depends on your intention if you want to emphasize one or the other. Depends on you. How do you feel, Nico? Questions in this part?
No, the year is clear.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay. Could you please read the example over here, Maya?
My bank counselor described the process for me. It is going to cost me a lot of bucks.
Exactly. A ver, voy a leerlo un poquito más pequeño esto. Wait. Wait. That's it. So in that case, we have two different sentences. The first one is describe, and we saw that describe follows the first structure. So we said, my bank counselor described the process for me. ¿Qué escribió? The process. Okay, the process is the direct object. For and me, I'm the one that is receiving, so I am the indirect object, right? With the preposition for, describió el proceso para mí, right? It is going to cost me a lot of bucks. Okay, cost, it's here, right? So it cost me, ¿a quién le costó? A mí. Ah, okay, so I am the indirect object. ¿Qué me costó? A lot of bucks. What is the meaning of bucks?
Mm. Dollars or
Yes, exactly. Como un slang para referirse a dinero, ¿cierto? Cuando digo como los pesos, los dólares, right? Depende obviamente de dónde estoy hablando. So in that case, that is the direct object and that follows the same structure, right? So depende del verbo que quieras usar y si es alguno de los que usan las dos opciones, pues depende ya de tu intención, lo, lo que quieras enfatizar, ¿ready?
okay.
Bueno, my friend. So in this case, also, we have to take into account that, as I said before, it's possible that we talk about the object as object pronouns if I don't want to repeat the information, ¿cierto? Entonces, when the direct object is a pronoun, it goes before the indirect object. When the direct object is a pronoun, it goes before the indirect object. Entonces, cuando el objeto pronombre, perdón, cuando el objeto directo es un pronombre, siempre va antes del objeto indirecto. Ejemplo. One sentence, it's saying, my best friend owes money to me. Ready? El
Mhm.
verbo owe, ya vimos que es deber, ¿cierto? Y tengo money to me. My best friend owes it to me. El objeto directo en este caso está presentado como un pronombre, que es el dinero, ¿cierto? Pero lo presento como un pronombre porque quiero decir como, ah, sí, me lo debe a mí. Ya previamente sé que estoy hablando de dinero. Entonces, cuando quiero hacer ese cambio, si el objeto directo es un pronombre, siempre irá en primer lugar. Claro, esto aplica para los verbos que aceptan ambas opciones, ¿sí? Entonces,
Mhm.
por ejemplo, I have the verb give, ¿sí? I have the verb give, and I said, listo, give a present, give a present, y to a friend. Entonces, si es el objeto directo está completo, yo puedo decir, I give my friend a present, o I give a present to my friend. Pero si yo digo como se lo di y vuelve ese objeto directo pronombre, solamente voy a poder usar la primera estructura. I give it to my friend. No podría usar I give my friend it, porque el objeto directo está en forma de pronombre. ¿Listo? ¿Ready? Esa primera aclaración.
Yes, teacher, it's
¿Listo?
clear.
Listo. Ahora yo me con la segunda. Please help me with the one that is yellow here. Nicholas, could you please read the one that is here, the one that is yellow?
And the yellow part,
Yes, please.
when the indirect object is a pronoun, it can go before or after the direct
Object. It's the idea.
object.
Ajá.
The teacher gave me the best grade. The teacher gave the best grade.
Ah, sí, en ese caso es the best grade to me. No se alcanza a ver ahí, pero the teacher
Ah,
gave me the best grade. El objeto indirecto es un pronombre y está antes, ¿cierto? The teacher gave me the best grade. O the teacher gave the best grade to me. Entonces, when the indirect object, cuando es el objeto indirecto, el que es un pronombre, ahí sí lo puedo colocar antes o después, ¿no? I can continue with that. For example, in that case. I give a present y a friend. Entonces ahora voy a volver, el present se va a quedar normal y el que voy a volver el pronombre es a friend. Vamos a usarlo como him. I could say I give a present to him o I give him a present. Porque es el objeto indirecto el que está cambiando. ¿Listo? No es el objeto directo, sino el objeto indirecto. And for that reason, and for that reason, it's necessary, it's possible to put it at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end. Both are possible there. Okay?
Okay, teacher.
Listo, bye. We have four examples here. We have one verb, one object, and another object. One verb, one object, and indirect object. Ready? Entonces, choose one, select one, and create an example using the three parts, the verb, the direct object, and the indirect object.
For example, the second one,
Mhm.
my sister teaches me calculus for my next exam.
Ah, bueno, o sea, usaste my sister como subject, ¿sí? Y tú te
Sí.
usaste como object, right? Entonces, listo, muy bien. My sister teaches me calculus
Ujú.
for my next exam. Perfecto. Option number one. Option number two.
Mm,
Same sentence, but different option.
my sister teaches calculus to me.
Perfecto, very good. My sister teaches, the part it's the same. Calculus, empezando con el objeto directo, ¿cierto? Calculus to me for my next exam. Obvio, si empiezo con el objeto directo y tengo el objeto indirecto después, pues en la mitad de usar la preposición correcta, que en este caso es to. Muy bien, Nico. Ready?
Okay.
So, easy to do it or not?
Mm, Yes, sí, sí.
Good. So when I am the indirect object, then it's going to happen this part, me, ¿cierto? Entonces, in that case, we don't have more options. No puede ser como de otra manera, sino siempre con me, si soy el objeto indirecto, right? Entonces,
Mm,
okay, the boss show me some graphics, or the boss shows some graphics to me, right? But in
mhm.
other case, if I am having another word, yeah, I can use the complete word or the object pronoun. I get a cup of coffee for my boss. O I get a cup of coffee for him. ¿Cierto? O I get him a cup of coffee. O I get my boss a cup of coffee. Hay más opciones porque cuando tengo una tercera persona, sí puedo colocar o el nombre o el objeto pronombre. Pero cuando soy yo, cuando es primera persona, pues la única forma que habrá es usar me. Ready? Entonces, that's
Okay.
the possibility. ¿Listo, Nico?
The two options is common to speak,
Yes.
or one is more formal than the other one.
Not so much as formal, but the first time that you talk about the person, you mention the name complete. The
Mhm.
second time, then it's not necessary. So what you normally do is, I mean, keep a balance between the name and the pronoun. For example, if I say, sí, no, you know what? I was talking with my boss and I got him a cup of coffee because ta, 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 y maybe later I am going to talk about, and I told my boss to bla, bla, bla. ¿Sí? Entonces, ¿cómo mantener un balance? La primera vez que lo menciono, generalmente uso el nombre completo, o sea, la palabra completa. Luego, en las siguientes oraciones, si voy a volver a mencionarlo, ya uso el objeto pronombre. Him, her, it. Pero
Uh,
puedo volver a renovar como la información y decir otra vez la palabra completa cuando ya de pronto haya pasado mucho tiempo y ya no sepamos de quién estamos hablando. So in that case, es como que un balance para no perder de vista quién es ese objeto. ¿Right?
Teacher, thank you.
¿Listo? Right. Bueno, Nico, so far, questions, difficulties, my friend, anything?
No, teacher is very clear.
Is okay? Listo, very good. So, What we're going to do here in our final activity is that you are going to think on some mini tips that could help people for improving their financial life. Think on who does the action on and who receives it. For example number one, you can only allow yourself, a customer is yourself, o sea, permitirte a ti mismo, right? So you can only allow yourself 10% of your salary for free spending. Entonces, 10% of your salary is direct object, and yourself is the indirect object, right? Or example number two, it is essential that you return money to people who lend it to you. Pues return es un verbo que generalmente recibe esta estructura con direct object, preposition, and indirect object, right? And here, lend, si puedes usarlo como sea, lend it to you, right? Entonces, ¿qué? El dinero. El it, it's talking about the money. So that's why we do it as object pronoun, porque ya lo mencioné previamente, so it's not necessary to repeat the word again, right? Entonces, think on some mini tips that we have for improving our financial life. ¿Listo? Piénsalo, piénsalo. Think for a second. Dame un segundo aquí. Wait a minute. Listo, wait. Vale, Nico. ¿Puedes ver el tablero blanco?
Yes, teacher.
Yes. Espera, espérame que tengo que mover algo aquí. But I don't know how to do it. Bueno, nevertheless, I don't know. I'm going to write down here the verbs. Voy a escribir aquí los verbos. So, do- we have the verb get, give, lend, offer, sell. Podemos usar también allow, right? Bueno, esos que están de primeras, está sell, son los que usan cualquiera de las dos opciones, ¿no? Show, right? Teach, right? Ahora, the ones that use the first option. The first option, announce, right? Describe, explain, usemos recommend. Right? Recommend with T. And now the ones that are in the second action, allow, ask, and cause and cost. ¿Listo? We use these verbs and write down here, escribe por ahí abajito, donde quieras, wherever you want, mini tips that you can recommend. This is similar to the ones that we talked before. It is essential that you return the money to the people, da, da, da. So use the verb correct and the objects correct too. Si es direct or indirect object, then use them correctly, okay?
Okay.
If you want, you can use the function of sticky notes. Puedes usar la función de post-its como de sticky notes. Or writing better if you want. Exactly. Okay, Nico, but remember there are recommendations about helping financial life, no? This is similar to the ones that we saw.
Appropriation. Eh,
So, no tienes que hacerlo en ambas formas. Puede ser una sola, pero recommendations on how to improve my financial life. Exactly. So I recommend to keep money for emergencies. Good. Try to use the verbs that are here. For example, announce, no sé, or explain, or sell could be offer, cost. If you're going to buy something, I recommend to find offers on internet. Very good. So I recommend to find offers on online or on internet. Muy bien, Nico. Good. Mhm, mhm. Well, actually, I don't recommend to lend money to nobody, no, because if you know them, but and if you don't know them, even worse, because they are not going to pay you, right?
Yes.
Muy bien, Nico. Eso, perfect. That's it. Excelente. So in that case, my friend, you have created different, like, wait, busquemos el color, wait. Yeah, you have created different tips in order to help with financial life. Let me just make it a little bit bigger. Yeah. So, bueno, ahora sí, let's correct it, right? So, I recommend to keep some money for emergencies. Recuerda que cuando tengo una palabra en plural que termina en ¿qué?
Yeah.
Exactamente, emergencies. ¿Listo? If you're going to buy something, I recommend to find offers on internet. Muy bien, very good. ¿A quién le recomiendas? A la persona que esté escuchando. Entonces, I recommend you or I recommend people to find offers on internet. Why? Because we have to include the direct object, que es la persona a quien le recomiendas. Entonces, I recommend people or I recommend you to, exactamente like that. Very good. So, I recommend you to find offers on the internet. Y la última, I recommend lo mismo. I recommend you to lend, perdón, I don't recommend you to lend money to known people. Perfecto. Right? Entonces, in that case, very good. You have, de hecho, tienes ahí doble porque tienes el verbo recommend, ¿cierto? Y lo estás usando con you to, la acción, ¿cierto? I recommend you to, pero la acción también tiene un verbo que es el verbo lend y también lo estás usando muy bien. I don't recommend you to lend money to known people, right? Entonces, hay como una cadena de
Ah,
objetos.
okay.
Está perfecto, muy bien, that's great. ¿Listo?
Okay.
Nico, questions, difficulties in this part? How about the object?
No, teacher is clear.
It's clear. Listo, my friend. Very good. So it was a kind of simple class, a little bit confusing and a little bit boring, to be honest, but but it's something that it's important to understand the different types of objects that we have. Okay. So, my
Okay,
friend, see you on
Friday.
Thursday. Pardon, Friday. See you on Friday. Have a wonderful night and nothing. Just rest. Sleep well.
Thank you, teacher. The same. Take
Bye,
a
Nico. Have a good night, man.
rest.
Okay, you
Bye
too.
bye, teacher. Thank you.
You too.